Wow, where do we begin? So, as I mentioned to you before, the HOI4 meta is constantly evolving. That is what the meta is. It's constantly changing. It's constantly evolving. You tend to find it's constantly always changing, but the rate that it changes tends to be slower when people decide on what the meta is. This applies to all computer games, by the way, not just HOI4. You generally find like a lot of esports scenes. They will, when the game comes out, everyone's experimenting with new builds and whatnot. And then eventually you reach a certain point where everything settles down and people figured out the meta. But then people still constantly in the background tweaking smaller things to try and to find even more optimal strategies and make breakthroughs. Anyway, so I had another gentleman approach me. I know everyone's approaching me at the minute saying they've figured out the meta or they've figured out to min-max certain attributes of HOI4. He submitted this to Reddit, but apparently didn't get upvoted. He produced this. I know, Python script, amazing, right? With this, you can find out the most optimal combat width to use in certain terrain types. And you're probably saying, Dave, we already know about this. You've already told us about this. Wait, chill. We'll get there. What you can specifically do is enter the numbers in for the amount of terrain types that are in that specific region you're going to be fighting to make the most optimal combat width. So in this case, I'm going to get rid of jungle because we've already got jungle and forest, which is practically the same anyway. What's the difference, right? Come on. And we've also got desert and we've also got plains, which are practically the same as well. And then I'm going to hit the Python script now and run it. We're going to run it. Here comes the magic. Here comes the magic. And here it has generated the most optimal combat width for these terrain types. So as you can see, the glorious 10 width is here. And then, as you can see, we slowly trickle down with peaks and valleys to the most optimal 40 widths we talked about from 41 to 45. 42 is more optimal, actually. 42, 43, 44, 45, and then a slip down to oblivion. Right, let's unpack a few things because there's a lot of misconceptions about this. One, this is basically telling you the overstacking penalty. So 1 means 100% of the damage will happen. If it's any less than 1, it's basically saying that there's an overstacking penalty in certain combination of these terrain types. In this case, if you go here, that's 2%. So this would be 2%. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So that would be 98% effective with a 10 width. So there'll be a 2% overstacking penalty if you were to use 10 widths in these combination of terrain type. But not only that, we can also specifically take into account attacking from each direction. So let's presume there's one division attacking straight, then there's another one attacking from another angle, and then there's another one attacking from another angle. It's practically the same. Okay, it's practically the same. So let me just talk a little bit about effectiveness of small combat widths and effectiveness of large combat widths. This is stuff I've already covered, so I'll cover it really quickly. So 10 combat widths are very effective because they're quite small and they fit into most terrain types, so therefore they don't suffer from a big overstacking penalty. Okay, that's why they're good. Why are they bad? Unfortunately, the HP of these divisions is very low. They will sustain very high manpower losses and equipment losses due to the fact the division HP is very low. Now, very large divisions ranging from, in this case, 40 to 45. These divisions have very big stats, have lots of HP, so won't have the problem of bleeding lots of manpower and equipment when taking losses. They will still do that because they're very expensive to begin with, but not to the same degree of a 10 width. Are you still with me? Have I lost you? Have you got me, guys? But the problem with these very large combat widths is, one, they're very expensive, so it takes a while to produce them, make them full strength. You don't want divisions that are not 100% strength because that's stupid, and you'll suffer from penalties on that regard. But also, the organization isn't also as optimal. So there's a sweet spot, and this meta is still being developed, where divisions that are roughly around 30 combat width, or late 20s, in this case not so much because 30 is really bad, so we're looking 31, 30, 32, 33, 34. These are seen as more optimal than the very large ones. One, because they're more affordable, and two, they have more organization. So, I mean, the org on these divisions is very high, but the HP is low. The HP is high, but the org's kind of low, and the sweet spot was around about the 30s. So at the moment, as it's currently looking, not with full-on testing, first the AI in single-player scenarios and some multiplayer scenarios, 30 widths seem to be the big mixture between stats, organization, HP, and firepower. Are you with me? Are you with me? There's so much to go through. So 32, 33, 34. They're the ones that seem at the moment the most mid-max between the two. So let's talk about another scenario then. Let's talk about you fighting in North Africa. So let's just say in North Africa, you've got quite a few hills. So we'll say 10 hills. We'll say 30 deserts. Where else is in North Africa? There's a few mountains as well, isn't there? I'm just talking about Libya. I'm thinking about Libya. Closing my eyes and thinking of Libya. So what if we alternatively go for something that's optimized specifically for fighting in a certain theater? So this is with the part where the meta gets a bit confusing, because it's like you could make a division, like I just showed you in the previous one, for a catch-all division that works the most efficiently in all terrain types. But what if you specifically make a theater-based division? And as you can see here, the 45 width is the best overall for stats and firepower in North Africa, particularly Libya and North Egypt. So 45 is absolute king in that specific scenario. So this is where it gets a bit grey, because everyone wants to know, what is the new Supermarine division? What's the combat width it has to be? What are the builds going to be? What division do I make for everything on my front line? Unfortunately, HOI4 has never been that easy, and right now it's become even more difficult to predict what the catch-all division is. But to be honest with you, you should be making catch-all divisions anyway. You should make divisions specifically that are going to work or optimally in certain scenarios. Hence the reason why I did desert in this instance. Are we good? Have I got you guys? I keep saying, are you with me? Because I need to make sure you guys understand what I'm saying, because there's a lot to digest here. I hear you, but isn't it better to design a division that is specialized to attack a defensive position rather than a whole theater? Yes. Why would you want to take planes into account when the attacker already has the advantage? This is only taking into account, it's a simplistic model just looking at combat width. It's not taking into account who's attacking and who's defending. I mean, in all fairness, to answer your question in a short form manner, yes, you make the division that's more optimal for attack and defense. That's fine, but your logic is different divisions cost way too much XP, just making one just more preferable. I don't disagree with that. I think at the moment, people are forgetting about in the Officer Corps, there's ways of making divisions for free now. You pay like 35 experience, or maybe it's 40, I can't remember, and you basically can create infantry templates as many as you want. Unlimited amount. So this one here, 35 experience, allows you to add Marines, Mountaineers, and Paratroopers to a division for free. Costs 35 experience. This one makes horses free. So anytime you add horses to something, it's free. So overwhelming firepower allows you to add artillery, support artillery, infantry designs. Wow, that's really strong. So if I was to cheat in XP right now and then make a division, infantry's free. It's free. Look, 0 cost. Free infantry. Artillery's free too. There you go, I made a 7-2, which isn't meta, but is still effective. Probably more effective overall. It's probably something like 22, something like that. That's actually more effective for equipment loss as well, because the HP is higher. It's free. It's free. There's no cost for this. This is free. Free division. Add support artillery on as well. Free. This is a free division. Cost nothing. Oh, no charge. Go to the cash register and they say, what is the charge, sir? And you go, it's free. It's a free division. Boom, I made it. It's free. So I believe this is specifically only if you're on superior firepower. What if you go Germany? So there's motorized one. So tanks are free, medium tanks are free, modern tanks are free, super heavy tanks are free, mechanized are free, motorized are free, and heavy tank are free. There you go, and that's for mobile warfare. So let's make one. There you go, motorized are free. It cost me to add the armor for the first one because it presumed I was changing a template. Interesting. So I still have to pay for this. Interesting. I don't think that's meant to be. This is a bug. This is a bug. I know it's a new company. I get what is happening here, but I don't think this is working as intended. I think this is meant to be free. Now, regardless, whatever. You get the idea. It's still significantly cheaper if you'd made it yourself anyway. If I was to change off this now, it costs 70. Oh, wow, that's a really way of demonstrating it. Awesome. Anyway, there you go. So no one can complain anymore about lack of XP. Superior firepower and mobile warfare offer 2 super discount. Whew.